Hello there, folks. This is Scott Galbraith, also known as the Great Scott. As you probably noticed, I don't have a magic setup today, and I'm not wearing my tuxedo because today I am not here in the capacity of a magician. However, it's the fact that I am a magician that gave me an idea for what you are about to see. For those of you who have watched my virtual volunteer segments before, you noticed that I had some very accomplished Christian actors on my segment as volunteers, 4 of them to be exact. And a couple weeks ago, I belonged to a group called the Society of American Magicians, which is basically a whole bunch of magicians that get together once a month and basically talk shop or see workshops on how to do magic tricks. And with recent world events, we've been doing those via Zoom, kind of like I'm on Zoom right now. And I just got an idea after our last meeting, you know, with all of the Christian actors and accomplished actors that I had as volunteers on my virtual volunteer segments, wouldn't it be great to get some of those guys together and have them share some of their stories? The 4 actors that I actually used as volunteers, I was very surprised to find out none of them had ever met each other before. So I reached out to them all. Sadly, one of them had a scheduling conflict and couldn't join us, but I was just delighted at the fact that the other 3 were all available. Let me introduce you to them right now. First up, he is God's smart aleck. He is the star of the movie The Grace Guard. He is the one and only Michael Joyner. How are you, Michael?
Fine. How you doing, man?
Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Next up, we have a guy whose claim to fame is working with both of the Cristiano brothers. He was in the movie Unidentified, directed by Rich Cristiano. He was in the movie Me and You, Us Forever, directed by Rich's brother Dave Cristiano. But I think his bragging rights will always be being one of the 2 government cronies in the first 30 seconds of the blockbuster Avatar. Please say hello to Michael Blaine-Rosgay. How are you doing, sir?
Well, thank you. How are you?
I am doing well. Nice to have you back here. And then finally, we have my co-star from The Reconciler. We met the day that he played Detective Tilton for the first time. He is an actor with many credits, including commercials, and his claim to fame will always be playing the physician who pronounced Lincoln dead in the Steven Spielberg movie Lincoln. Please say hello to Robert Shepard, also known as Bob. How are you doing, Bob?
Good. Good to see you all.
And you're identified today as Marcia Sheppard because you're actually on your wife's iPad. It's very nice of you.
Yes,
to
that
let
is
your
correct.
It's very nice to let your. It's very nice of your wife to let you use that. So anyway, I'll be kind of acting as the commentator / host here. And like I said, what I just kind of wanted to do was go around. And one thing that we should do just before we go any further here, Michael Joyner, it appears that history has repeated itself again. Several months ago, I had Michael Joyner and his Grace Card co-star Michael Higginbottom on a group chat, and I asked them, you know, how do you get confused with 2 Michaels? And once again, we here have 2 Michaels. So to prevent me from having to say Michael Joyner or Michael Blaine-Rosgay every single time, gentlemen, is it okay if I call one of you Mike and one of you Michael? Who wants to be Mike? Who wants to be Michael?
Whoever.
Okay. Whoever. Call me
by my wife's name if you want.
No, that's okay. All right, just for that. Okay, for that, Michael Joyner, you're going to be Mike for this Q&A.
Okay,
Michael,
I'll be Mike. All right.
Michael. Okay, so Joyner is Mike, Blaine-Rosgay is Michael, so that I don't have to keep on saying your full names every single time, okay? One of the things that I thought we would start with here, just off the bat, is I thought, as much as I have followed all of your careers in the past and even used you guys as volunteers on my virtual segments, I don't think I really took the time to find out what your backgrounds were and how you guys actually got into the business. So I thought we'd go around one at a time. We'll start with Mike. Mike, just how did you get into acting and stand-up comedy?
You know, that could really take an hour just to give that story, because there's the practical way I got in, and then there's the incredible way God opened doors. So I'll give a little bit short version of each. I always wanted to be an actor. Even I remember when I was in this play, and until the teacher put me in that play, I had no idea how much I loved it. And I did the play, and I remember at that same age also watching Lost in Space, and there was a little boy my age, and I pointed to the TV. I said, "How did he get to be on there? I want to be on there." So from a very young age, I wanted to be an actor, but because I I had a stepdad who wasn't in any way a good father figure, I just let that desire go. And I wasn't a Christian either until my teen years. So I became the class clown, that's for sure. So that's where the comedy came from. Got in a lot of trouble in school all the way up to high school. And I could look back and go, well, that's where my desire to do comedy came from, but I never had the wisdom to utilize, to apply any of it until later years when I gave my life to God. I was living in Hollywood, California in 1988, working as Bruce Willis's photo double and working as an extra. I was his full-time photo double for moonlighting. That's when I committed my life to God, and I felt his calling to go back home to Indiana, of all places, start doing theater, which I did at a theater group that won first place in the whole world, Valparaiso Community Theater. I got some great experience there, and then I started doing comedy in church, and so I was doing comedy and acting, and comedy became more of my life. I was doing comedy in Raytown, Missouri one time. That's where I met my wife. And we started a family, and I told her I said, we need to go back to California, Hollywood. I want to study acting and get more serious. We did in 2002. I studied with some of the acting coaches, one-on-one that Hollywood had to offer. I saw God's hand on everything I was doing. I got an agent eventually, and after 350 auditions, I found I had to move back to Kansas City in 2008 because of the economy. I did, and that's when I surprisingly and miraculously got the call to play the lead role in a movie called The Grace Card. And from there, I got really nice reviews in both. Yeah, I got nice reviews in both the Hollywood Reporter and Variety, and word got around, especially the faith-based industry, that I did a great job. So from there, I've done 12 lead roles in faith-based films, and I've started in secular films also. So
and you do acting
the short
coaching
version.
Yeah, and you do acting coaching as well.
I share some of the incredible.
Yeah, I actually took your class. Great. I was actually one
some of the incredible stuff. Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah, I share some of the stuff I learned in Hollywood.
Which is great to do. Okay, Michael Blaine, same question, please.
Boy, it's same as Michael Joyner.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't know that I wanted to be an actor until my mother told me that, you're doing commercials in the bathroom. But I didn't really get seriously. She goes, you should really think about drama. And I was like, oh, drama. What's that? Drama's for sissies. But in high school, I did my first acting class and just fell in love with it. And fast forward a number of years, I moved down to Hollywood. Actually, let me dovetail back. I was living in Seattle and taking acting classes in Portland, and it's a 3.5-hour drive down to Portland. Every Wednesday I go down, and it was on that drive I had two choices. I could listen to country music or I could listen to Christian radio, and I fell in love with J. Vernon McGee on the way down.
I love him.
Yep. The Bible bus. So I started to listen to a lot of Christian radio sermons, not so much music, but a lot of sermons. And my walk with the Lord deepened. I was a Christian, but kind of nominal at that time. So now we fast forward to Los Angeles. I started doing voiceovers, and I was doing soaps and TV shows and stuff along the way. And I got cast in a audiobook for the Bible for Zondervan, and did very well with that. It actually won some awards, which was pretty cool. Good ensemble cast. But the casting director for that called me a few months later and said, you want to audition for a film? I said, sure. And that's how I met Rich. We did Unidentified, and then his brother tapped me for Me and You, Us Forever. And I'm just giving you the highlights here. And then about a year later, I get a call for Avatar. I did the audition, didn't hear anything. 4 months later, you let it go, right? When you do an audition, you just kind of walk out, you let it go. My agent calls me and says, you have your passport? I said, yeah. He goes, remember that you auditioned for Project 880? I said, yeah. He goes, you're going to New Zealand. Wow. That was pretty nice. 3 weeks in New Zealand, for as Scott said, after the theatrical cut. It was 30 seconds in flashback at the beginning, but we filmed 3 different scenes there in New Zealand, which is in the
You were the one of the two. However, you were one of the 2 government cronies who actually spoke, though. You did actually talk.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway,
and if you watch the theatrical version of the trailer, that's my scene partner and I that opened that. So that was pretty cool. My daughter's like, dude, when she saw that on the Jumbotron, Seahawks were playing the Cowboys, and so that was the first game, I think, in the new Cowboy Stadium, and the big jumbotron. There it is, and I went, "Oh my God, it's pretty cool."
Yeah, it sounds like. Okay, bringing us to the one guy not with the first name, Michael. Bob, what's your background, sir?
Well, it's interesting. There's a common theme here. I share the same comments in that I don't remember when I didn't want to be an actor. My problem was being raised in the Missouri Ozarks, which is a great background, a lot of great memories, but I couldn't quite figure out how to get from there to where I wanted to be as an actor. And in fact, the church that I attended thought it was a sin to go to movies. So that was kind of an interesting little sidebar to all of that. But in spite of all of that, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And there were several fits and starts over the years, and due to a lot of personal reasons. As many years ago, we had to move back from LA, and I went back in full-time in the military, but I still had never lost that desire to be a full-time actor. So when I knew that I was getting closer to retiring, and I was here at Fort Monroe, Virginia, that's what took us here, I got an agent and started booking jobs while I was on active duty. So it was actually a fairly nice transition when I went from full-time Army into this freelance actor thing. So it's been over years, and I feel very blessed. I feel God has really opened many doors, and so lots and lots of work. One of my first initial jobs was almost a national commercial for Hardee's, except out on the West Coast, it's not called Hardee's. It has a different name, so it didn't quite get from sea to shining sea, but it was an early on opportunity, and actually that's when I became eligible for SAG. So, and that happened fairly early on in this career. So just one thing led to the other. I tried to do whatever I could, a lot of training films, student films, tons of extra work, probably worked as an extra in 40 or 50 films over the years, and then finally able to move into principal roles. And it's been certainly a blessing, and I feel like that it's been what God has intended me to do, and I'm very grateful for that.
One of the most interesting things on your resume that I remember you reading you remember posting one time, Bob. Michael Joyner said that he was, Bruce Willis's stand-in on Moonlighting. You were actually what photo double? Okay. Yeah. Do I have the right story here, Bob? Weren't you James Garner's hand double for a scene in My Fellow Americans?
Yes, actually I was. We were up in DC, and we were working with second unit. I was working as an extra because the first unit had already gone down to North Carolina to the Biltmore to film the interior for the White House. And the costume lady come by, and she had all the guys say, "Hold out your hand." So we did. And she kind of looked, and she kind of squeezed mine, and she said, "Oh, I think these will do." So the next thing I knew, they had moved me to the trailer, and I was put into a dark blue suit and white shirt, and I think a red tie, as James Garner had worn. I was put in the back of a limo, and the camera crew was inside the limo. We had a police escort that went round and round the White House. And if you've ever seen the film, as James Garner is leaving Washington toward the end of the movie, his hand comes up and he tips a compass toward the south lawn of the White House. Well, that's actually good old Bob's hand that you see.
Hey, can I say something to Bob?
Yes, go right ahead.
Oh, by the way, Bob, I was Rosie O'Donnell's hand double.
Oh my goodness.
I'm kidding.
Well, there's got to be a story there.
I'm kidding, of course, but I have done 2 movies in the Ozarks because I live now in Kansas City, Missouri, 2 full-length features and several commercials, so I'm very familiar with that area. It's a great place to film.
Well, and Michael, I am a Missourian by birth.
No kidding, what part?
Well, I was raised in a little town called Birch Tree on Highway 60 that's kind of in between Cape Girardeau to the east and Springfield to the west. Very tiny little town. I think it still has about 900 people in it. And then we lived 7 miles out on a farm to boot. So I really knew what rural Ozarks was like. But
I think
our
when I drive
family,
to Memphis, I go close to that.
I'm sure on Highway 60
Yeah.
it runs right through it. But actually, the Sheppard family, I'm the 5th generation Missourian, but they originally came from Virginia, and they were one of the founders of settling Jackson County there in Kansas City.
Okay, where I live. Wow.
Yeah.
Small
Hey,
world.
I knew this thing was going to be full of surprises here. I do remember one thing that I forgot to mention is that Michael, you're actually the one person. Michael, I know I've tried to get you in a couple of the projects that Sean Justice and I have tried to get off the ground with to no avail. But you are actually the only person here who has not worked with Sean Justice. Bob and I are both in.
No, I worked in that. Don't forget, I worked in that one movie that you didn't write called
Out of the Darkness.
Cowboy movie.
You played it.
Yeah.
It was called Out of the Dark. Yeah, that's what I was saying. You worked with Sean on that, and then Bob and I worked with Sean on A Murder of Innocence as well as Reconciler. 2 of my only 3 film credits, mind you. And yeah,
Okay.
your guys' resume, my 3 film credits look so small. To be honest with you, I can't believe I'm the one hosting this thing. But anyway, I had this idea about, I was trying to figure out, how could we keep the conversation going and stuff. And they were like, just to be on the safe side, why don't I write down a few questions that I can ask all these guys? And then the floodgates of questions I could ask you kind of just filled up to the point that I had way too many of them. So I was like, okay, how do I do this in a way that's fun? And you know what? I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen Whose Line Is It Anyway? Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to improv any scenes, but I am going to take a little page from their playbook here. I have one of my magician hats right here, and I wrote down all the questions I had in mind in this hat, and I'm just going to shake it up. I'm going to pull one out, and we're going to I'm going to put you guys on the spot here and see if you can very politely decline these if you don't want to answer them, just for the record. Okay? But I'm just going to pull one out at random and ask you guys this. Here we go. And I'm only 42 years old, but sadly, the eye strain is kicking in. Let's see. Okay, here's an interesting one. Did you ever have any experience that made you say to yourself, why in the world did I decide to be an actor?
Asking anyone in particular, or?
Yeah, no. If anyone wants to answer that, just raise your hand. It's free for any of you to answer. Like I said, this is a virtual round.
Every day of my life. Are you kidding me?
Really?
Every day.
Okay.
Every time one of those, as you guys know, I said earlier, I did 350.
You just muted yourself. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. You just hit mute.
And that's when I said, why am I an actor? Okay, so.
Did you do that on purpose? You went mute
I've
there
worked
for a second.
in films where there's frustration after frustration, and there's good with bad, like anything. And then, as you know, trying to become just a working actor, is full of frustration. So I've asked that 1,000 times and learned to ask it less and trust God more.
Bingo. Same for me there. There's a period in Los Angeles where it's like nothing, audition after audition after audition, and nothing was coming in. I remember having a good prayer time with God saying, if you want me to be something else other than an actor, in the clear, crystal clear. I didn't say I want you to be an actor. I didn't say that, said God. Have faith. So it's been a great faith journey for me through this business. But we're actors, right? We're storytellers. You can't take that away. And I do other work, in the meantime.
I do too, especially now.
Yeah. I've become very handy with my hands. I like working with wood, and I'm here at my place at Hood Canal right now and fixing the house. But I don't think you can ever stop being an actor.
Every time I wonder if I should do another job, something comes out of the blue, like an inquiry for a magic show or something. That's kind of God's way of reiterating what he told me, which is I'm not done yet. Every one of the times that I questioned it, that the words of not done, I got that put on my heart once when I was really saying, is there anything else I could be doing? And he was like, you're not done yet. And anytime the question comes up, that'll always be when I'll get a text message from Sean about an idea we could do, or I will get oh boy, wow, the time really flies here. I just got the 10-minute warning here that we got 10 minutes left. Wow. Anyway, Bob, you got anything to say on that regard or not?
You know, not too much. And I think maybe one of the differences is that once I really became a full-time actor, I actually had Army retirement. So in some ways, some of that pressure was off. I mean, I knew the mortgage was going to be paid and I could have some food on the table. And so I really tried to take everything as a learning opportunity, because I went through the school of like hard knocks, and just by doing and learning. I really did not study very much with anyone. Occasionally I would take a class, but not much. So I took every opportunity that I could and tried to build on it.
You know, being a former military, you must love Mike's hat.
Oh, great.
Yes. Thank of that.
Saw that too. Saw that too.
Yes.
I love, anytime I see a vet, you know, because I often wear their hats out at 7-Eleven, I always let them know I appreciate it.
Well, God bless you for that.
Yes. I like to say that to
thank you for your
policemen, because I feel like policemen have gotten a bad rap these days as well. And
Policemen too, yes.
and not a lot of them thank them for their service. They just kind of, okay, let's see what we have here. We got 8 minutes left. I think we got time for 1 or 2 more of these. Let's see what we have here. This one. What was actually, some of you already answered this. What was the first faith-based film you were in?
I was Race Card. That was my first.
Yeah. Was Unidentified yours?
Unidentified film.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were a couple of TV shows for TBN that I was in, but they were scripted dramas. But the first film was Unidentified.
Bob?
My first, of course, where I live, Regent University is just about 30 minutes away. So my first faith-based was a student film called By the Sword. And it was sort of Die Hard Goes to Church. It was about the most violent thing that Regent has ever produced. I mean, and I wasn't intentionally taking all these people out, but one way after the other, this minister was able to do it, much like Michael's good friend, Bruce Willis.
All right. Let's see what's next here. We're obviously not going to get through all of these. Of course, this might give us an excuse to do this again sometime, but don't expect a text message from me very soon about that. You want to give people you want to get people wanting more. You know, you don't do too many of these back. Yeah. So, all right. Let's see here. Here's a random one. What was the worst acting job you ever had?
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I don't want to name names.
Fair enough.
Well,
I don't either.
I said you could decline if you wanted to.
I could answer that, and it wasn't the job itself, it was me, because this movie By the Sword that I told you about, they had 2 actors in that cast in the lead, and then one after the other bailed out for one reason or the other. So I moved into that movie without very much background, and I really had no time really to prep. Our director was primarily a camera person, not a director. So I was really awful. I mean, I cringed when I watched that movie. But, you know, I wouldn't give anything for that experience, but it was bad because I was bad.
Hey, Great Scott, I did one where they, after I told them some things weren't clicking, they let me direct at least my scenes.
Uh-huh.
And then I brought in a friend to direct, and we had fun with it. And I can go into more, but I won't.
Okay. Michael, do you want to answer this, or do you want to decline?
Yeah, I think, you know, I've enjoyed all of my roles.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm not going to plead the fifth. No. I've enjoyed all the experiences. You know, making movies is different than plays. Movies are a marathon. Plays happen. Movies are made. It's a marathon, and you just kind of have to gear yourself that way. But the worst experience that I had, great show, but it was at the fledgling Seattle Shakespeare Company, and they were doing summer productions in the John Hughes Theater, which had no air conditioning.
Oh, man.
And I was Spirit Carrier number 1.
Okay.
Spirit Carrier number 1, and they had Naugahyde tabards. Naugahyde tabards, and I would sit there, and it was great because the 2 actors were so facile. They were wonderful. And every day, you know, the scene was a little bit different, but sweating and sweating and sweating. And like, I think I'm going to pass out here.
As a guy who's
in
played,
an 80-degree theater.
As a guy who's played everything from Darth Vader to Mickey Mouse for kids' parties, I feel your pain on that.
Yeah, right.
I think I knew. Hey, I think I know the guy who plays Spear Carrier number 325.
Right. Great guy.
All right.
Great guy.
Well, we're under the 5-minute mark here for when this is going to shut down, so I'm going to do one more here, just one more. All right, please be a good one. Please be a good one. Please be a good one. All right, let's see here. Oh, this is a good one. Okay. Is there a role you haven't played in your career that you would still like to? Like a type of character.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Type of character.
Type of character, type of job.
Well, I want to work with the likes of Denzel Washington or some A-listers and directors and Ridley Scott. That's my desire. As far as role, just anything that's gritty.
Yeah.
That's my.
Yep.
I think for that, I really enjoy playing against type because I tend to get the professional, the lawyer, the minister, the doctor, and occasionally when I have a chance to play against that, I really feel like that's very, very satisfying as an actor.
Was your role as Detective?
So I've had this.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Michael.
Go ahead. Okay. Okay.
Was your role
So
as Detective? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm pending this idea about gritty when Michael said that for a number of years now. Detective show, TV or movie. He's a Christian, but he's fighting against the darkness in himself as well. Because the things do, the things that the way he has to combat crime is warrant his Christianity. I thought that would be a really interesting element. So there you go.
You want to see an interesting show that has to do with Christianity and is about policemen? You should check out Vindication on Amazon. Todd Terry, who was actually on that show, was nice enough to be one of my virtual volunteers. In fact, he was the 4th guy that I wanted to try to have here, but sadly his schedule didn't permit it. So 3 out of 4 wasn't bad. All right, we're down to 2 minutes here. Does anybody have anything they want to say? I'm gonna post this on most of my social media and tag the living daylights out of it so you guys can all see it and people can find your pages as well. So and like I said, go ahead, Mike.
Please listen to my new feed by Apple Music and everything else. It's called Shut Up and Laugh.
Nice. Nice.
Comedy CD.
Yes, and I highly recommend that anybody who is friends with Michael Joyner on Facebook try to attend his prayer times on Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Is it, Michael? Yeah. I try to attend whenever I can. If I miss it, I watch it after the fact. But I try to be there in person whenever possible. All right. We're down to 90 seconds here, but I don't want to take this right up to the. Clearly, this is a group of people, all of who have great stories to tell, and I wish we had more time. But if I take this right down to the wire, then I know this is going to shut off in the middle of something good that everybody is going to be disappointed that they missed. So, gentlemen, Michael Joyner, Michael Blaine-Rosgay, Bob Shepard, I want to thank you all for taking the time to participate in this little faith-based actors roundtable. And hopefully you guys can like all connect on social media because of this, because I think that we're basically all over the map. I'm hosting this from Boston. Bob, you're in Virginia, right?
Correct.
And Michael Joyner, you're in Kansas City. Where are you again, Michael Blaine-Rosgay? Where?
I'm in Mason County, Washington, Hood Canal right now.
All right. Well,
hour and a half west of Seattle.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, all for participating in this, and we're down to less than a minute, which means this could click off at any time. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you guys when I see you. Thank you, everybody out there, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little actors roundtable. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Nice meeting everyone.
Yes, indeed, Michael. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.